What we're going to have, guys, today is chapter 2, like I said about estimating. 3 of you have this book, right? All of you guys got this book, little tiny little booklet. Chapter 2 talk about estimating, the 9 steps of estimating. This will be on 2 tests and a final, guaranteed. 9 steps of estimating. So Adam, what I did, I gave you guys the sheet that you're going to be taking off and estimating with. This sheet, Karen, follows the 9 steps of estimating. So I put the sheets on the side. You can look at the sheets here on the right-hand side, left-hand side has the chapters. So as I go through the chapters, I'm going to be referring to this sheet. And I walked you guys through it yesterday fast. We focused on the takeoff. And I told you your takeoff, Adam, will not be accepted if it's not colored and if it's not measured and all this stuff, guys. I would like you to do the measuring and the coloring, please. From the get-go, I'll be looking at it and reviewing it. We have time to do that. So let's go ahead, guys, and start with estimating. This chapter talks about estimating. So that's a topic that we're going to be reading. A few things that we're going to focus on as we move forward, Adam and my friend Karen. You're going to ask yourself, this is what you're going to decide. Can I be a good estimator? What are the qualities of a good estimator? Can you make it for a good estimator? An honest evaluation of these steps that we're going to go over, guys, will tell you if you can be a good estimator and you should stick with the design. So keep in check. I know, Derek, you're learning estimating now at your company, so keep this in mind as you go through. So the qualities of a good estimator. Duties. Then after you decide you're going to be an estimator, what are your duties and responsibilities related to the estimator? When you're an estimator, now you decided you can be an estimator because you have these qualities, or you will learn these qualities, or we train yourself to have these qualities. Then what are your duties and responsibilities, Adam? And then we're going to talk about properly set up the estimating workplace. When you have an estimating workplace, yesterday, guys, I spread you in the class, right? That's part of creating your estimating workplace. When you have estimating, Karen, it's a lot of sheets of paper, a lot of documentation, a lot of work, a lot of marking, if you're doing it by paper. So you need to have your estimating work set up, as well as the proper tools. You have to have the proper tools that you need to do your estimating. Any comments, guys? Any questions about that? So we're going to talk about the estimating work and the proper tools that you need for this work. Then we're going to move on, Adam, into so-called different types of estimating methods. We'll talk about the different types of estimating methods that we use in the industry. Accurate estimate must include, in order for your estimate to be accurate, what things must you include and shall not forget about. So we'll talk about the types of estimating methods, how accurate can your estimate be, and what you need to include in it to make it accurate. How accurate could it be? The same thing like you said. Does it have to be 100% or 95% accurate, and what's not? And then moving on, we'll talk about the advantages, gentlemen and ladies, and the disadvantages of methods of estimation, which is called advantage of material estimating, computer-assisted estimating, and estimating service. So we have 3 methods of or ways of doing estimating: manual estimating, computer estimating, and estimating service. Good morning, Matt. What, your girlfriend is not allowing you to get up early these days, or what? So any comments, guys? Any questions? Questions about what this chapter is going to include? A few good stuff, Adam. Ask yourself, do I have these qualities? So let's talk about the qualities. So I'm going to ask you guys to assess yourself if you're going to be a good estimator. Number 1, are you willing to learn, or are you stubborn like your friend Chad? Are you willing to learn, or you just called the idea you finished with ECDM and you think you know it all there, right? Got all the knowledge. Willing to learn, continuous learning improvement. So, willing to learn. If you are willing to learn, you're a good estimator. Good knowledge of the construction. Another way. Do you have, it's not an excellent, but just at least good knowledge of the construction and the ability So construction and the ability to visualize electrical requirements. So do you know the construction? Do you know different type of construction? Concrete, block, wood, sheetrock, steel buildings, you know. So that the more you know, Derek and Karen, the more you will be a better estimator, because estimating a conduit that's going through a beam, you're not supposed to go through a beam, or if it's going to go through a concrete wall, is completely different than estimating the same conduit if it's going to go through a sheetrock wall. You guys agree with me? The amount of work that you estimate for this piece of conduit. So the construction, obviously, guys, you will live and die in the industry, construction industry, trying to learn the whole construction industry. I keep reminding you, Matt, my friend, that you are only 10% of the overall construction industry. So, but in order to be a good estimator, you need to kind of look outside the box and look at the other disciplines and how they're going to affect your discipline, which is electrical. So visualizing electrical installation. If you guys don't know that to go from this wall into this wall, I have to go up, over, and down again. You're not a good estimator. So when you're looking at the blueprints with your friend Chad, when you're measuring, when I come and review it with you guys, I want to say, have you accounted for going up 9 feet or whatever we said, 9 feet, down 6 feet to the panel? So that's visualizing how the branch circuits and the feeders are going to actually physically, mechanically run from point A to point B. So that's another thing you ask yourself. Then the second thing, do you have an orderly mind? Or are you shooting off the hip type of guy, no organization skills whatsoever? Orderly mind, your mind is able to think in an orderly way, tendency to be careful, not overkilling, Derek, just careful, and accurate and neat. The single most important thing, accurate and neat, guys, desks and working space will make you work more efficient. I'm a firm believer. I've been trying to tell this to my wife for years now, but sometimes it doesn't work like the way you want it to work. But if you have a neat desk, neat office, it will make you work more efficient. Doesn't mean if you are efficient, it makes you more efficient, but you have to be efficient. Comparing apples to apples, a neat working place and a non-neat working place, comparing apples to apples, a neat working place will help you work easier, more efficient. I think you probably agree with me, guys. Orderly mind is very important. If you're distracted, guys, ADD or whatever you have, that's a whole big problem. I mean, you can't. You have to focus and have an orderly mind, and when you deal with estimating, it's a lot of money on the table. Open mind and willing to change. Open mind and willing to change, guys. Your company switch from estimating software to another one. You cannot resist. You have to. You are estimator is a top notch. You know the construction. To be a good estimator, guys, you need to know the construction enough and the design enough and the market enough and deliver a good estimate in order to get the job to your company. So a big deal. Open mind is a big deal. Take advantage of new products. Go to seminars. Add new technologies. Every time, keep in touch with the vendors. That's what most of these great estimators, guys, they keep in touch with the vendors. They're always looking for ways of reducing the price. Now, remember yesterday, guys, to get the bid, Karen, there are two components. You have to provide a quality service at a reasonable price. You cannot mess with your quality because that's not a long-term solution for your company. If you continue missing out with the quality that you provide, you're not going to stay in business for long. Okay, if you're reputable, especially if you're a reputable electrical contractor. Now, the only thing you can mess with is the reasonable price. You can reduce your reasonable price to a point where you're not going to losing money. How can you reduce your reasonable price? Take advantage of new technologies, new products, research them in order to reduce your either material price and or your labor price. So these are your qualities as a good estimator. Decisiveness. So important when you're sitting right there, Derek, and doing a takeoff for a $2 million you have to make a decision. The ability to make decisions and not be intimidated by details. How many of you guys sat there and for days trying to decide? If you're an estimator, you have to accumulate enough knowledge, enough experience to be able to be decisive when needed, and not hastily decisive though. There's wild guests. I'm sure you probably heard about them, Derek, at Parsons. Wild guests and educated wild guests that you have to do at certain points in order to estimate the project. If you don't know it, you have to have an educated, so-called educated guess. But you got to decide though. If you and this is not just estimator guys, project managers. You're standing right in there. There is 20 employees waiting for you to make a decision where this conduit is going to go, and you're sitting, and you're supposed to make a decision, right? So you have to make a decision. You can't just sleep on it 2 days and let me think about it. So, and at the same time, make the right decision too. I'm a firm believer, Adam, that making the wrong decision is worse than not making a not making a decision is worse than making a wrong decision. Because if you're not making a decision, you're causing a lot of troubles. If you made a wrong decision, at least they can fix it, you know. But you got to decide. Then imagine if you don't make a decision, Derek, for 3 days, and you make a decision and your decision is wrong. Think about it. Now you are late not only 3 days because it took you 3 days to make the decision, but also to fix the problem that you did. So you have to make a decision, an educated guess decision, if nothing else. Fairness, honesty, and integrity. These are big deal, guys. The electrical industry is so small. You're going to end up, if you in the state of Minnesota, Twin Cities, guys. If you're a designer, Karen, you're going to end up working in almost all the engineering firms, electrical contractors, the major ones here. Or know somebody who works there. Very small. So being honest and have integrity, not a cheater. You're not a cheater. You're an honest person. You treat people fairly. Is your reputation. If you want to excel, you don't want to. It's not all about the money, of course. It's about making money, play fair, and be honest, and have integrity. So getting the bid because you cheated is not an integrity or honesty. Or fairness for others. So very, very important, guys. We're going to play within. When you compete with others, you have to compete within the parameter of fairness, honesty, and integrity. No cheating. Long term, it wouldn't get you anywhere. Knowledge of the electrical code. You guys have been learning with your friend the NEC code, and the ability to read blueprints. You guys have made the blueprints, not only read the blueprints. When you're an estimator, most of the good estimators, guys, are ones who know how to design and also have a good understanding, if not know how, to install the system. Those are the perfect estimators, the people who know how to design the system and know how to install it too. Then those would be the perfect estimators, among other skills. But at least if you don't know how to install the system, at least you need to be able to visualize and understand enough and get in touch with people who know how to install it, so you learn enough to estimate the project. Reading blueprint, if you don't know how to read blueprint, is you're not in this business. Patience. When you guys start taking up 3 projects with your friend, Chad, you're gonna get mad, and there's a lot of details. If you are not cut to be an estimator, great, you're going to do it and get out of here and get your degree and become a designer or a drafter, whatever you want to do. But if you're going to be an estimator, you have to be patient. You must be able to finish the estimate without losing your cool. So that's very, very important, guys, because it's a lot of information, a lot of details, a lot of things that you need to do. Procedures and the ability to follow them. If you never know how to follow procedures, this business is not for you, and a lot of businesses probably are not for you. Creative minds are great, and believe me, a lot of engineers like us, people who are engineers and registered, we almost registration kill innovation. I am a firm believer of that, but we need it. You need people to follow rules and regulations in order to make the world move. If you are too creative, there's a lot of places for you in the world. Maybe the construction industry. If you're too creative, maybe it's not the place for you. If it's too creative, at least the estimating part of it. There's a lot of following procedures and following regulations. Well, I like to install this tree-looking fixture. That's very creative and great, but is it UL listed? That's a question that I will ask you as an engineer, right? Is it UL listed? Is it going to create a fire and get sued, or we get sued? So being creative is great, very great, but you have to also be able to follow procedures. Procedures and the ability to follow them is a big deal. Okay, so these guys are the traits or the qualities of a good estimator. So, how many estimators do I have in this class? Anybody wants to be an estimator? I know Derek won. Anybody else? No? Matt? Adam? Maybe? Karen? You guys like to be an estimators? Yes? No? Put you on the spot? Don't know? Not yet? Haven't decided? Indecisiveness. So these are the steps that you guys have to ask yourself if you're going to be an estimator or not. Any comments, any questions? I want to remind you guys that our class is estimating and project management now. Okay, now we know we decided that we're going to be estimators, or we decided not to, and we have to listen to Chad, to being tortured by Chad, too, so we can get our degree, whatever your situation is. Then we're going to talk about your duties and responsibilities as an estimator. Or when you work at Michelle Cooley and you're dealing with estimators, you probably should know at least what's their duties and responsibilities. Let's talk about duties and responsibilities. Now, this will tell you guys duties and responsibilities change from one company to another, but there are common denominator between all these companies. Cool? There are changes, obviously. There's so many companies, big, small company, unionized companies, merit shops, and what's not. Duties change, but there's common denominator between them. Number one, determine the cost of the job. If you're an estimator and you don't know how to determine the cost of the job, open the window and jump off that window. They don't belong in the estimating business, right? So you have to come up with the estimate. That's why they call you estimator, right, Matt? Might as well call you maybe a drafter or a designer. Cost of the job, you need to be able to do the takeoff, complete takeoff, bill of material, laboring, and all the steps, and come up with a job cost. That's your responsibility number one. Responsibility number two that could be, could not, is purchasing the material. A lot of companies, guys, bigger companies, have a purchasing agent that does after we do the cost of the job. Now it's going to cost us $2 million. We submit the proposal, Karen, the owner, or the city or the state that we're working for accepted our proposal and say, yeah, go ahead, CA Electric, you're going to do this job. Now, after that, we need to purchase the material. Remember, the estimating is supposed to give you information not only to get the job, but also to manage the job as you move forward. So you need to purchase the material. So some companies, the estimator's responsibility, because who better than the estimator, Derek, to know the material of the project? Who better than the estimator? Think about it, or the estimating team. Now, sometimes bigger project guys has a team, and there's a head of the team, and that head of the team is the main estimator. Who's better than guys to know the material? So that could be purchasing agent, either a purchasing agent coordination with a company purchasing agent to purchase the material, or he himself will be your purchasing agent for this material. Next, ensure the bid accuracy. Now, before you submit your bid, don't you think you have to check for accuracy of your bid? You're just going to say, okay, here's $2 million, and you end up making a mistake of $3 million, and you bring the company down with you? Do you think the owner of the company are going to let you do that? And Derek, you probably know, and all these companies that work Parson and Hunt, they have teams that review major projects. And it depends on the project, guys. If your project is $100,000, it's not a whole lot. If your project is $100 million, you guaranteed that every single smart person in that company will be looking at your estimate before they submit. Not just you as an estimator. So based on the size of the job. So bid accuracy, your responsibility to come up with means, you're going to see a few of them, guys, that guarantee bid accuracy. Project management and tracking. Now, in some companies, guys, the estimators are one company. They estimate, they give it to a project manager to manage it. In others, the estimator, him or herself, will be the project manager. Now, you got the job to the company. You're the big guy or big gal, right? Got a $2 million to the company. Now you got your truck this year, Derek, right? They buy you a truck. If you get the $2 million job to a company, you got you a big truck, man, that year. So a vacation somewhere and good money, right? That's a big chunk of money to bring to a company. Now you are the project manager. You're going to take it. Either could be estimator himself or herself, the project manager, or you're going to transfer this info into a project manager where they can use it to manage and track the job. Managing the job, guys, you understand there are two components of it. You have to manage, of course, the labor, managing the labor and managing the material. and the customers, and interfacing with all other disciplines. There's a whole lot of management. You go into a construction site like the stadium, and you're the electrical project manager for the whole stadium. Can you imagine the amount of responsibilities and the amount of questions that will be coming your way from every discipline, every engineer, every contractor? The concrete guys are asking you where they're going to do the stub-ups for your feeders. So the more you have material guys and coordination and design, the better project manager you will be. And tracking the job, of course, labor and material. Did we finish 1/4 of the project? Are we on budget? So we talked about yesterday, guys, how they slice the estimate into little chunks and keep track of these little chunks. So before they finish the whole project and discover they're $2 million in the hole, they can tell if they're on track by tracking the projection of the project or behind schedule. On schedule, behind schedule, over budget or under budget is a major responsibilities of a project estimator or a project manager. So these are, my friends, are the four responsibilities of, for the most part, of an estimator / a project manager. Any comments, any questions? Anybody's intimidated by these details? I had people quit, guys, when we were thrown in a project as a project manager to do all these responsibilities. They could not handle it. People are looking at you every Monday morning around the table for 2 hours. We have a team coordination meeting, and they're looking for all these questions, and you have no clue where to start. You go home and your weekend is miserable because you're thinking of Monday morning meeting and all these questions that you really don't answer, and you have bad support from your company. If your company is good company, guys, the company will support you, but there's one time, Derek, at one time they have to let go with you. You have to be at. You have to decide. This is your project. You're not going to call Dave Karski every time you have a problem. Well, the first 2 calls, they might get them. You start calling them every day, you create miserable because they're busy too. Okay, estimating workspace. Now we know we have the quality for the estimating. You guys have the qualities, right? All of you. And we know what the duties of an estimator is. Now let's talk about the workplace and the tools that you need to be an efficient estimator, right? Makes sense? Common sense. So the workplace and the tools. A few things, guys, before you start doing estimating, you need to work on your workplace and tools. Here's what you need. Your workplace, Derek, my friend, must be efficient, well illuminated. Don't be cheap on the illumination. Located in a place where not disturbed, like Chad, for example, yelling and yakking at you while you are taking, oops, was it 55 fixtures or 56 fixtures? Now let's start over. When you're doing the takeoff, guys, you need to be in a place that's quiet for the most part, or plug yourself where you can't hear anything. Have ample amount of space. Have efficient space, heated, well heated, cooled, and all this stuff. Make you more efficient. You're dealing with a lot of material. You need to have enough light. Look at that. You're looking at blueprints and specification. You need to have ample. I spread you guys. The first thing I did, what did I do? I pulled you from that desk to this desk to spread you, give you ample amount of space to do your work. So you need estimates job with improper tools. You also need the proper tools because improper tools will make it longer to complete the estimate, and of course, poor results. You need the proper tools to do your estimating. You will see some of these proper tools that you have to do. You can't just estimate it with a scale like the one that you guys have. That's not the proper tools. Nobody uses this. You're using it with chat. There's wheels. There's a lot of more efficient way of doing estimating. The top-notch estimating, guys, right now is on-screen estimating. Takeoff. They do the takeoff directly from the blueprints through the computer. You interface the CAD or I believe CAD and think Revit tool. You can take them to another software. They pull all this information directly from them and you verify it. You don't go highlighting and what's not. Though still, a lot of people still doing it by hand. So be aware of that one too. Good estimating tools. If you have a good estimating tools, of course, it cuts on your human being errors. Increase your efficiency. That's the most important things. And pay for itself. So that's why investing on a wheel instead of the scale, the scale ruler that you guys are using is a much more efficient way and much better way of doing business. Excuse me. All right. Estimator should have the following items. You can agree or disagree, guys, with the following items. In order to be efficient to do your work, you can read through them. You have at least you have to have a bookcase, so you have coordinate yourself. You have an office bookcase with all your resources next to them. Adding machine, calculators, chairs. I don't know what adding machine. Don't we use a calculator to do that? Colored pencils and pens. Isn't that what I gave you guys the first thing? You have your calculator. Have your calculator handy. Computer. You are doing it through computer. Computer estimating software. Can't do a good takeoff right now with our software. You guys have an Excel sheet for the first project. The second two projects, Derek, you're going to have what? Two different softwares. So you have to have a software. Internet and email. Why do you think we need an internet and email if I'm an estimator? Excuse me. Yeah, contact with your suppliers, research material. I'm looking at bus duct. I have never seen that bus duct. Check it online, see what the price of it is. Access, we talked about that one. Spreadsheets in order to do it. Street maps. You need to estimate how long will it take the people to the job. You know, there could be a job, guys, 50 miles away from where your office is or 100 miles away. So knowing the street maps and the location of the job is a big deal. Copy machine. Counters, desks, whiteboards, you can do some calculation, estimating and what's not. So the second set of things you can see, digital wheel. This is a must-have. Digital plan wheel and counter. Almost all of them, guys. Do you have one, Derek, at work? The first thing you need to do, or you're doing it by hand? Counting? You share, okay.
Yeah.
You guys are a little bit cheap here. What? They are 60. I got.
It's just because the group that I work in doesn't usually do estimates because we usually just put the project in.
Okay. I contacted Calculated Industry yesterday, and they gave me a bid, guys, or a quote for 10 of them, for close to $600. So each one of them will be $63. So if you want to buy, I can bring them. I'm going to bring them next year. I don't have a budget for them this year, but I'm going to be bringing these wheels. So instead of doing that ruler, you'll be doing a wheel to measure the distance and counter. So this is a proper way of doing business. And drafting tables, you guys have some type of drafting table to lay out your system. Erasers, filing cabinet, forms and worksheets, and proposals, lighting, magnifying glasses. How many of you guys are above 50? None of us is above 50 here, right? When you get older, you can't see everything on the plan. So you might have some type of magnifying glasses. Pencil sharpeners, personal information manager. Then do they still use that one? The iPhone now. Phone and answering machines, racks, scale rulers. That's what you guys are using right now. And stapler and a bunch of other things. You can see a good office. Basically, this is, if you want to, Derek, when you have your own office, you become a big boy, and you need to have a list of things that you need to have to be a good estimator. Here's one list that you could, you don't have to pick all of them, but you can pick some of them. Does that make sense? That having these will make your workplace efficient for estimating. You don't have to have every single one of them. You have to have a chair though, so you can sit at least, or you do your work standing, huh? Any comments, guys, about the tools and the space that you need to sit to do your work good? Any comments? Any questions? Make sense? Common sense. Actually, I can tell you these things are not rocket science. These are good for anyone who wants to do a good job to start with. I bet you 90% of them are required in every office. Now, moving into type of bids. What are the type of bids that we do? I'm like I told you guys, I'm aligning a speaker and/or a field trip for every week. So we are hoping that we have Stinson Electric next week. I'm hoping. I emailed them, I haven't heard yet. So you're going to hear them talking about the different type of bids again. So it'll be really interesting with some modification. What are the type of bids? The first type of bid is called a competitive bid. So 15 electrical companies heard that the city of Minneapolis wants to build a library, or the state of Minnesota wants to build a stadium for the Vikings, right? They get the material and they bid on that job. They get the blueprints from the engineering firm, and they bid spec and material, basically, competitive bid. They take the spec and the blueprints, and they bid based on spec and the blueprints. And whoever gets the perceived low price will get the job. Again, not always the low price, because if CA Electric goes and bid the stadium, and they got half of everybody else, guys, do you think CA Electric is going to get the stadium job? I hope not. Don't have the manpower, the skills, the knowledge, the everything to do the job. So it has to be certain companies, of course. Design build is the owner of the company. Derek, you want to build a riser in downtown Minneapolis? You go and hire Rashad Cooley Erickson to do the design. You hire Parsons. You say, Parsons, I would like you guys to design this building, the electrical contractor, and build it. Does that make sense? So go ahead, design and build it. And there's a lot of big chunk of work is design build, like our speakers will be telling you this. So no competing. The third one, Adam, is called negotiated work. So you go negotiate with a bunch of firms and say, Hunt, Egan, Parsons, and what's not. We're going to build this hospital. We would like to negotiate how much it's going to cost us. And they do an estimate, and you come up with, they say, no more than $2 million. We guarantee you, we will do this work for no more than $1 million. And that's what the owner is looking for, a cap. So, okay, now I put it in my budget and I go and I get the donors to donate the money so we can build this hospital. That's negotiated work. So you give him a value, typically no more than. Does that make sense? A cap. And you get the job. Time and material, very easy. They do this one, guys, in services and if they're services and fixing and troubleshooting. So okay, the switchgear, the lighting in Dunwoody is not working. So we call Parsons. They send us a crew, and they work on it. Time and material. So they keep track of their time, and they keep track of their material. They add their material and they market. A lot of time they market too. And they add their time and they multiply by the rate that they're going, and they add the profit, a little bit of profit in that, and they tell you, here's what's going to cost you. Any comments, guys? Any questions? So they will tell you our rate to come and fix your house is $150 to send a crew, a truck to fix the problem. So they start count hours and multiply by 150 plus the material that they use for this job. Do you think you can build a stadium like this on a time and material? They're not meant. Time and stadiums, guys, are competitive bids or design build or negotiated work. Time and material typically for fixing things and troubleshooting and what's not. Any comments, guys, about these four types of bids? Four types of bids. Any comments? Any questions? Does it make sense? Yes? No? Okay, so these are your four types of bid. Okay, there's a fifth one, of course, the unit price. The unit price, guys, is kind of an interesting. Now, Matt, you are a developer. And you can't develop a whole lot in Minneapolis. Well, you can. So you want to develop a building in Minneapolis. So a 30-story building, right? And 30 stories. And I can come in and say, okay, I can tell you every floor that you have in your building, I can do it for $10,000, electrically speaking, electrical. Okay, so then you added another 5 floors to your building in the design. What do you know? You add another $10,000 for every floor. So that's the unit price. Or a developer guys in Becker, and they want to develop 25 standalone dwelling units. Cool. And they want you as an electrical contractor to bid on the electrical part of it. Say, oh, no problem. I can do each and every one of these homes. Let's just say they're big homes, 4,000 square foot homes, right? Good size, 4,000 square foot homes, and we want to build them. Say, I can do the 4,000 square foot home from A to Z, everything done, complete, given to the owner for $15,000. So you multiply these homes by 15, how many of them, and that will be your bid. Any comments, guys, about the unit price? In order to come up with a unit price, what do you need to do? You need to do a detailed estimating. You have to do a detailed estimating to come up with a unit price. You can't just come up with a unit price. Another place where the unit price, Karen, when they change the service. So you have a 60 amp service, we want to change it to 100 amp service. Very simple for smaller contractors. All right. You take a panel out, put a new panel in, and sometimes you have to put a cable. Very, very typical. Well, we can do it for $1,500. Done. How many of them you wanted me to change in South Minneapolis? Multiply them by $1,500. So you go to the city of Minneapolis and say, I can change all these for you in the whole neighborhood here. $1,500 a pop. That's called unit price. Any comments, guys, questions about unit price? How do you know it's going to cost you that much? Because you went through the estimate for it. You've done it a few times. 5 ways or 5 types of bids. Comments, questions, my friends? Comments? Do you guys wish that you're still doing Revit now? And CAD, Karen, you still wish you're still doing CAD or Revit instead of being taught or being talked to or talked about the estimation? Okay, what an accurate estimate must include. So now we know what the bids are. So what do we need to include in an accurate, and I emphasize the word accurate estimate? Let's see a few things. An accurate estimate must include the following. Labor cost, including burdens. How much is going to cost me to do the job, including the burden? So the dollar value that I'm going to put on my employees are $75 an hour. I'm going to charge you every time I send you to work $75 an hour. That includes your burden, the fringes and the burdens, benefits and unemployment that I have to, as a company, have to do on you. We're going to be installing these guys in the software. So the cost of the labor. Material cost makes sense, right? You can't have estimate without labor and material. That will include the fixtures and the gear. The material cost, guys, when we take off the material, the switches are easy to take and the conduits and the wires. But do you think all the electrical panels that are very expensive and the generators will be taken off or will be coated? You're going to hear the word coats. The quotes, guys, is when you go to 4 vendors. You guys are 4 vendors, and I need to install a 4,000 amp switchgear. I will ask you to provide me a quotation for these 4,000 amp switchgear, and 4 of you are reputable manufacturers. I don't want an unreputable manufacturer to jump in and give me below standard quality equipment. And then I will pick typically the cheapest one or the least expensive quote that you get. They do this one, Adam and Derek, they do them for the fixtures and the switch gears. So when we talk, remember, when we talk about takeoff, guys, when you do takeoff with Chad, 2 things you're going to remember. The fixtures and the gears. When they say gear, all the panels, all the transformers, all the UPSs, all the auto transfer switches, all the generators, these are called the gears. All these gears, guys, will be coded. Does that make sense? When they say quotation for vendors, typically you send it to them, they give you a price. Why would they do it this way? Because a generator, guys, is $500,000. All your wires and conduits, Derek, when you put wires and conduit in a building, might be $100,000, right? And to install them, another $200, and the generator itself is $500,000. You can see the gravity of the price of these equipments. They're very expensive, so you need to make sure you get a good deal on the price of very expensive equipment. Same thing of fixtures. Fixtures, you can have $100 fixture, guys, or a $1,000 fixture to put it installed in location. So which one are you going to choose? So you have a quotation for these. After you get your cost for the labor and material, gentlemen, you have to put sales tax. In Minnesota, you have to do a sales tax on that. Add, what is it, 7.7 something or 7.8 almost. Subcontractor and rentals. If you need to subcontract the concrete and the trenching, you have to add it there. And if you rent the trailer, so your electricians and your project managers, guys, can sit there and visit with you. You have to include this one in your project. You have to include this one in your project. Direct job expenses, permits. When you have a permit, by the way, all these information, guys, everything that I'm going over is in Excel sheet, Karen. So when you fill your Excel sheet, you're going to be looking at the same terminology. Direct job cost, taxes, subcontractors. When we use 3 softwares, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be using the same terminology. So this terminology is very, very important. Subcontractors, rentals. You're going to ask yourself, do I have things to rent? Trailers, do I have subcontractor, trenching and concrete, or maybe low voltage? Direct job, do I have another direct job as in permits, city permits and electrical permits and hazard recycling material and a bunch of other things. So this has to be included. And then, of course, your overhead. Managing the labor, it's not enough, guys, to include just how much it's going to cost you. How much it's going to cost you must take into consideration also overhead, managing the labor. Overhead is defined as managing that labor. And the support group that manage, the supporting group that support the people who manage the labor have to be included. This will determine the bid price. This is to determine the bid price always. And then after you do that, what do you need to do to stay in business? What's the dirty word? Profit, right? So after you include all your expenses, ladies and gentlemen, you have to include a little bit of dollars for your profit so you can go to the Bahamas, especially in the middle of winter. Do you think if you're owner of a company, don't you need another 5-10% in your pocket, right? So you can make money out of your company. So you need to include some type of profit, some type of profit. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys 5 minutes, and I'm gonna continue with this one. This is a little bit long chapter, so shall we take 5 minutes, stretch a little bit, and then we'll continue with the improper estimating method. Shall we? Cool. Let's do that. And continue with this great chapter about estimating. So we talked about the proper estimating, guys. Let's talk about the improper estimating, guys. Improper estimating, based on our friend Mike Holtz. Here's a couple of them. Ignoring the specification. You are intimidated by details, Karen, and you really don't want to look at the spec. You guys remember that big spec that I gave you? You're supposed to search these specs, and you know what they do, Derek, at Parsons and Hunt? They take the spec electronically, and electronically they search for certain words, motors, disconnects, electrical words. So, and not just the electrical, they'll go the mechanical spec and the structural spec and all these specs, and they search them for electrical words so they can to know if there's anything in a mechanical spec that they should be aware of, and they are not. Does that make sense? And when you build a lot of stadiums, I guess you develop an idea that every time you have an air handling unit, you got to have a disconnect, and this one does not have a disconnect, right? Well, maybe it's provided by the manufacturer. So you start asking certain things so you can tell, so you know that the other disciplines are not expecting you to do certain things that you are not aware of. Does that make sense? Specification, not just the electrical, not the 2600, also mechanical and other specifications. Search for electrical words. Meeting the lowest bid. If see electric guys bid on the stadium and we put $1 million, right? And it costs, and you said, oops, and you guys, all your estimates, major people came up with $10 million. Do you gonna go lower your bid to meet $1 million and go out of business? Maybe those guys are knuckleheads. There are a lot of companies that go under, guys, because they don't know how to manage and how to estimate. So meeting the lowest bid is improper way of estimating. Shot in the dark. The cowboy mentality, right? Shot in the dark. Okay. I walk into the building. This hospital will cost you $5 million. And believe it or not, somebody like Dave Karski and a bunch of guys who have been around for a long time, I bet you their shot in the dark is almost a lot of times are very accurate because they've done it. That's not shot in the dark though. When you sit there and you measure it based on 15 hospitals that you have done in the past, and you do some calculations, say, well, there was inflation, there was expenses, blah, 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 you come up. That's not shot in the dark. That's using experience. Shot in the dark is you walk around and you just throw a number. Square foot method. Square foot method, guys, is not, well, a lot of people use the square foot method. So for residential, let's say $5 per square foot. So whatever you have, if you have multiply the square foot of that house by $5, and that will get you how much you're going to charge you, or $7. So this is a good way, guys, for a smaller project, but not a good way for a bigger project. So a lot of people use the square foot, Karen, to check their estimate. After they do the detailed method, the proper way is the detailed method, right? After you do the detailed method, then you check the square foot. What's the dollar per square foot that this building is going to cost you, and compare it to the historic data that you have in order to make sure that you are doing. So the square foot method is by itself is not proper way of estimating, but it can be used to check your estimate, your detailed estimate. Okay, proper methods. Let's talk about the proper methods. The proper estimating methods include the following. Time and material. We talked about the time and material. This is a proper method. Unit price, detailed method. These are the three proper methods. Time and material. You know what a time and material, right? Keep track of your time, keep track of your material. Unit price, every house that we're going to do, $10,000. Why? Because you've done hundreds of them, right? And the proper one that you guys are doing with your friend Chad Kennedy is the detailed estimating method. That's what you're going to be doing with me for the three projects, right? We're not doing unit price or time and material. You're going to go detailed step by step, takeoff. You started the takeoff. You're going to do the laboring and material. Okay, so time and material, unit price, and detailed method. Now, this is what I would like you guys to wake up if you're sleeping. There are 6 steps of estimation and 3 steps of bid process. This on the final and on the 2 tests. I always like to ask you about these things. What are the steps of estimating and bidding? So estimate process is 6 steps. You can agree or disagree with the exact steps, guys. But for the test, you have to agree because your friend Chad is the authority having jurisdiction. You go out there and you might say that there are 5. So these 6 steps, very, very important, guys. If you understand them now, Adam, it will make it easier for you to estimate with an Excel sheet that I gave you because the Excel sheet is based on these 6 steps. It will be easier, Karen, for you to do McCormick and AccuBid as we move forward. Did you guys hear me? So important. That's probably the bread and the butter of it. So let's go talk about these things. Okay. So estimating and bidding process. 9 steps. 9 altogether is 9 steps. You're going to see you already know 1. So understanding the scope of work. This is step number 1. What is the project is all about? You guys started taking off residential project for me. Did anybody ask me what type of wiring methods, Mr. Kurdi, are you using? Right? Understanding the scope of work. What are you doing? What are you taking off? You guys know what you're taking off because you designed the blueprint. Yeah, we have the scope of this project, guys, that you're taking off right now. It's a dwelling 240, 120, 400 amp quadruplex building. That's the scope. Providing a lighting and a power and a low voltage. That's what you're doing. You have to understand that. It's not a hospital, what you're doing with me right now. Next project is going to be a commercial building. And the third project is going to be industrial. You're familiar with it, right? Understanding the scope of work. Very, very important. Before you start the job, you must understand the scope of work. What needs to be done. Okay. Now, you guys understand the scope of work because you've done it. The next step, ladies and gentlemen, is takeoff. Isn't that what you guys started yesterday with me with all these 4 tabs in the Excel sheet doing the detailed takeoff? So what is the takeoff? Now you're going to take off is nothing other than counting. When you do the takeoff, you have to visualize the installation. I told you guys yesterday to go from this wall to this wall. You have to go up, over, and down. That's visualizing. If you don't know how to visualize, this is not your industry. Stick with the CAD stuff, right? Visualizing it. Electrical system, you have to visualize how the electrical system is going to be put together. Now, so what is takeoff? Very easy. Counting and measuring. This is, test number 1 on the final. I'll ask you, what is takeoff? Counting components, electrical components, and measuring feeders and branch circuits. That's what you guys are doing. Everybody understand what a takeoff is? That's what you're going to be doing yesterday. Adam, you started counting these components and your fixtures, right? And these forms, you're doing takeoff. And I don't know how many of you guys have started the blueprints measuring. Anybody started yet measuring? Then you're going to go draw, visualize, go up, over, and down, assign distances, add them up. That's measuring. So what is takeoff, Karen? Measuring and counting. Counting electrical components and measuring distances. That's step 2. Shall we go to step 3? Or are you guys tired? Step 3. Step 3 is determining the bill of material. Now, after I counted, after you count the boxes and the devices inside them, we have the bill of material, right? We counted how many components you need. Now, each one of these boxes, guys, you need to assign a bill of material. You need to assign a value for it, a dollar value. So this box here is going to be 50 cents. So what's determining the bill of material? The price of the equipment. What is the price of the equipment? So that's for you guys. And by the way, Karen, what I'm going over right now is the 16 tab sheet that you guys are having. You understand it now, you understand the sheet. So determining the bill of material, very easy for a person who understands the material items. If it's completed, obviously, if you have a computer, the nice thing about the computer, Derek, is the computer will spit all these material for you. We have something called assembly. So I told you guys about yesterday about assemblies. When you take this as an assembly, here's the assembly. There's 5 switches with a cover and a box. When you take them in the software math will assign a box and 5 switches and a cover for this particular one. So that's determining the bill of material. Do you guys see how powerful that is? You need to know what the equipment that you need to install. Next, pricing and labeling. After you put all these equipments that you guys have taken off, you put them in a list, right? That's called your bill of material that you're going to purchase. By the way, this will help you purchase the material. Then you need to price that material and label it. Okay, I have a box like this, a square box. The price of the square box is going to be $0.5, and the labor to install it will be 0.1 hours. That's called pricing and laboring. Everybody understand what pricing and laboring is? Assigning a dollar value for the equipment and an hour value to install that piece of equipment. Pricing and laboring. That's right. So you have to look up the price and the labor units. There's something called labor units, guys. The labor units is how much will cost you to install this particular piece of equipment. Any comments about pricing and laboring? Pricing, assign a price. Laboring, assign an hour value or part of an hour to the project. If you have a computer era, a computer-assisted software like McCormick, all the pricing and labeling will be done with you. When you finish your takeoff, Adam, you're going to come with your friend Chad. We're going to sit in the back and you're going to say, make sure you have the price for every single thing that you did and the labor. Every time you install something, you're going to ask for yourself, have I assigned a labor for it to install it? Have I assigned the price for it? In an Excel sheet that I gave you guys, you have to always ask yourself, in a real software, the nice thing about it, all what you have to do is just do the takeoff and everything else will be done, Karen, by what? By the software. Everything else will be done by the software. Okay, pricing and laboring. Moving into the fifth one, extending and totaling. Extending and totaling, guys, is doing the math. Extending and totaling is nothing other than doing the math. So if I have 5 boxes, each one of them is $0.5. $0.5. When you extend them, that will give me $2.5. And the same 5 boxes, each one of them will be 0.1 hour. And when you extend these one, it's going to be a 0.5 hour. Can you just see that totaling? Everybody can see that totaling? And this is your extending. And then totaling, if you say multiply this one by, say, 100 hours, and then add them up. So then you add to, what did we say here? 2.5 plus 50, it's $52.5. So you add them up, do the math. Any comments, guys? Any questions about extending and totaling, doing the math? So you take 5 boxes, each one of them as $0.5, multiply them by 5, 2.5. 5 boxes, each one of them to install it, you need 0.1 of an hour. You multiply the 5 by 0.1, give you 0.5. And then assign labors to them and total them. If you have extending and totaling, if you have doing the math, basically, if you have a computer, Adam, the computer will do all this math for you. McCormick and Acubit, you don't have to even worry about this. It's all done. In an Excel sheet that I gave you guys, you have most of the math already in it. I want to remind you, most of the math already in it. If you modify that sheet, you have to go check the math. And I will be there to help you. Any question, guys, about extending and totaling? Doing the math, basically. Adding them up. And the last thing is estimate summary. So everything that you have done, you have to put it in a summary that we call it estimate summary. You know, so now you have your labor, how much is going to cost you as labor hours, right, in that summary, as well as labor hours and dollar value for the equipment that you install. And that information, of course, will help people who are deciding to buy the job and so forth. So that's number 6. These are the estimating steps. Now moving into the bidding steps, guys. Now the bidding process, after you know how much it's going to cost you, Karen, you need to add the dirty word profit. To your cost, you need to add profit. How much profit do you need to make over this project? 5% or 0% or 10%? So applying the profit, 0 to 10%. Once you, how much it's going to cost you? It's going to cost me $1 million. I'm going to add 5% profit so I can go to the Bahamas and buy a truck as an owner of the company. That's what a profit is all about. Above and beyond, if you're an owner of a company and you're working, you get your money through your payment, right? Your overhead. Now, if you're an owner of a company living in the Bahamas and own CE Electric, you're expected to get some profit out of that company, right? So that will be the one that goes to somebody sitting in the Bahamas, or the owners of the company. If it's shared, they split that profit, and that profit could be split, put in your pocket, or split and put into the company to build the company. So whatever you do with that money, but you need some type of profit. After you get your profit added, guys, you need to do bid accuracy and bid analysis. That's when you put a bunch of very, very competent group of people, and the software will give you I told you guys a dollar per square foot value. You get how much percentage do your labor from your overall cost, the material from your overall cost. All these values, guys, percentages and factors will the software will give it to you, and then you as a project manager look at them and decide, yep, I am pretty confident that my bid is accurate. So you have to analyze your bid in order to come up with accuracy, right? Otherwise, it's not enough just to spit this garbage into the software and come out of the other end another garbage, right? Garbage in, garbage out softwares. Somebody smarter than whoever put the information, if it's not the same person, have to look at this and does it make sense? If every hospital that we bid, guys, that we built costs us $20 per square foot, and this hospital all of a sudden is $40 per square foot, the question would be, it's not wrong. Why? You put the question why. Then you have a meeting with the project manager and estimator and discuss why are we that much above. Now, if it's 20 to 21, yeah, 20 to 25, 20, 30, right? You have to ask yourself. So that's where complete. You must verify that did not do any mistakes, make any common mistakes or errors in judgment. If you have a software, guys, the math mistakes are gone. In Excel sheet, you could have made a math mistake, right? You're human. The softwares typically they have been done by professional. All the math is in the back. You don't look at it. Your main mistake with the software is takeoff. You forgot to take off the proper way or forget it altogether. And then assigning the labor and material. You have to assign the right labor and material for them. Okay, so bid accuracy. The last thing, ladies and gentlemen, we will get the $2 million job now when you buy your truck. You need a bid proposal. Now, in a bid proposal, and by the way, these 9 steps are the Excel sheet that you guys have in front of you. Follow step by step these 9 steps. So that's why I'm emphasizing how important it is. You're going to use it for the 2 weeks. Step by step. When we move to McCormick follows these 9 steps. So if I have a request from all of you guys, keep these 9 steps dear to your heart. As we move through the whole estimating, keep them, they're in the book, highlight them. These are probably the bread and the butter of the whole book, the 9 steps. Bid proposal. Now you have a bid proposal, write it down here. It says $1 million and sign it. Chad Kennedy with a bunch of description and submit it to the owner. Now you guys, if you like it, sign it and we have a contract. Got yourselves a contract. So bid, you must submit a written proposal signed by your company. In the proposal, you have to clarify the bid price, how much are you going to do it for, and what's not included in the bid. If you guys, we have a bid proposal, Adam, at the end of the Excel sheet, 2 pages. The first page says what we're going to be doing and how much we're going to be doing it for, and how are you going to be paying us. Percentage, the first 20% on the slab. When you put the concrete, we need 20% payment. How are you going to pay us? Big deal, part of your proposal. The steps they're going to be paid. You're not going to, you have $2 million, $1 million job, and you're not going to wait until the end to get your money out of the contractor. Okay, so that's where your bid proposal, bid price plus what's included and how you're going to be paid. How are you going to be paid? Okay, any comments, guys, about these 9 steps? As we move forward, ladies and gentlemen, I want you guys to keep these 9 steps dear to your heart. That's what we're going to be following with your friend Chad Kearney. You're going to be following it directly as we move through these 3 projects. Am I clear about this? So if we're reviewing and I ask you, have you paid attention to this step? Please be aware. You got to understand these steps. Dear to the 3 softwares that we use for it. Okay, how accurate the bid can be. Now, remember, it's all an estimate. Obviously, if it's 100% accurate, it's not an estimate, it's a fact. An estimate means there is a percentage of error in it. So estimators accept a satisfactory percentage of error, say 1% error. You can't tolerate more than 1% error, maybe 2% error. If your error is 20%, you're not going to go under. So there is a percentage of error in your estimate, acceptable percentage of error. Typically in 1 to 2%, that's accepted in the accuracy of your bid, because nothing is perfect. There's some assumption. If you break the job down into little small sections, guys, that's what it tells you when you do the estimation. If you break a complicated job into little section and assign labor material to it, your chances of not making a bigger mistake is less. So you minimize your chance of making bigger mistakes if you split things into little sections. If you have computer-assisted softwares, the material becomes science. What they do, guys, with all these softwares, math that we do, McCormick and Acubid, they're connected to a national database, and they pull all the dollar value for all the consumable materials directly from a database based on your location in the U.S. So, of course, this box can be 100 price different based on where you live in the U.S., right? Because taxes and a bunch of other things. Well, taxes you have to add it, but the price could be different. So based on where you're located, you can download this data based on your location, and you're almost 99% accurate that this is the price that you're going to get. So that's almost science, the material. Now, the material, like I said, the material is almost predictable. Very most predictable part of it, accurate. Calculated to a few percentage point, 1 to 3%. When you estimate, you're almost 1 to 3% in the material. That's acceptable value of the actual cost of the new job. So could be you want to be 1% less, not 1% high. So that's what you take into consideration. If you're in doubt, you go up, so you can be higher a little bit. So the material is almost science, no problem. The labor, the problem is with the labor. The labor, when you estimate your labor, because 0.1 hour, no, Adam will say 0.09 hour, right, for it to install this fixture. I am faster than you are, I can install it with 0.001 hour, So you're going to know your material, right? Labor is a big deal. So when you labor, here's the acceptable range, 10 to 20%. Obviously you're going to lower it. Acceptable range is within 1 to 10%. You lower your material, your labor. That's what you're going to do it. That's why a lot of contractor guys, Hunt and Egan, they try to get the material assembled before they send it to the job, because in the job you don't have a whole lot of control over people, but you have a lot of control over material. If you can minimize the amount of hours there, then you can minimize the errors that you got here. Then you maximize your profit. Okay, so a few percentages for material, close to 10 to 20% for labor in terms of accuracy. Any comments, guys, about the accuracy of labor and material? Any questions? So there is an error. And there is an acceptable error in this information. We're almost there. So there are methods of doing estimating, guys. One of them is called manual, computer, and estimating service. So there are 3 primary methods of doing estimating. Doing it manual, forget about it. You guys are doing it manual right now. Doing it through an Excel sheet is called manual, because you have to put the prices and you have to put things. Tedious. This is for the little contractors that have a $50,000 to $100,000 range jobs. You can do it manually, no problem, with an Excel sheet. There's nobody does it manually for the most part. Maybe very, very small contractors sit in the back of their truck and calculate things. Some people still do that. Okay, a couple of fixtures multiplied by this, and doing it by hand, the old way, not even calculator. Are you kidding me? If you don't use a calculator, you don't belong in the 21st century. That's kind of my attitude about not using calculator. There are people bragging that they make their electrician do it by hand. Are you kidding me? Which 20? Have you entered the 21st century? So calculators is there for a reason, to do things fast. But if you're not interested in doing things fast, That's a different story. So manual, drop that one. Computer assisted. Computer assisted is what most of the people guys do. So they have a software like McCormick or Accubit, and they spit all this information in this McCormick and Accubit, like you guys will be doing, and it will get you all the outcomes. And the last one is estimating service. Estimating service, and this is also on your test, Karen. The estimating service is when I don't know how to estimate a gas station. So Adam has an estimating service, electrical estimating service. They do a lot of estimating for different companies. I could hire them. I pay them 5% of the overall, and I say, why don't you guys do the takeoff for us? So a third party doing the estimating for you. Does that make sense, guys? Karen, third party doing the estimating for you? Yes, no? Third party doing the estimating for you. So, all right, so which one are we going to be using in this class? Which one are you going to be using? The computer-assisted one, the computer-assisted one. Okay, the manual, what's the disadvantage of the manual? Of course, disadvantage, estimating manually include the following, of course, cost to complete the project. Are you kidding me? It costs you a lot to complete the project. Errors in math, lack of project management information. Don't have anything. You're doing it by hand. You don't have a whole lot of information. Errors, long time to do the project. These are the disadvantage. Inability to respond to changes. If you want to change something, you have to go recalculate everything by hand. Are you kidding me? Versus in an Excel sheet, at least, if you want to change the number of fixtures from 50 to 100, you erase 50, put 100, it takes it all the way down. In estimating software, the same thing, guys. The number of fixtures change from 100 to a 50 or 50 to 100. You just change it and everything continue to be completely done. So that's the advantage of time to complete the estimate. It takes a long time. So manual, drop it. Don't even think about it. Computer assisted, look at the advantages. Competitive advantage to the computer. Of course, changes are easily accommodated, less errors, improved management. Improve bid accuracy, reduce estimate time, and reduce management cost, the overhead, reduce the management cost. So you can, and who else does not want a system like this? No error in math. The math is already built by smarter than you people. They're doing all the math in the backyard, in the background, so you don't have to worry about that. So these are, guys, the advantage of computer estimating. Changes, very easy to do the changes. You're going to see, guys, not in Excel. When we do Accubit and McCormick, you change one thing, carries it all the way through. Don't have to worry about it. All right, so that's my computer. Estimating service. We talk about estimating service, Derek. I don't know if you ever dealt with them. Those are a third-party verification. They send them the job and they'll estimate it for you, and of course they charge you. What's wrong with hiring them? Low upfront cost, so it doesn't cost you to do the work. Knowledge of the bid, they know the bid. That's the advantage of doing them. Each method has its own steps, so that's the advantage. What's the disadvantage of estimating service? They will charge you another 5-10%. So that's an extra burden that you have to put in your project. Okay, so that's basically what these are. All right, so you should have learned, Adam, my friend, the qualities of a good estimator by now, right? We got qualities of good estimators. Everybody knows the quality set. Sit honestly, Derek, my friend, and rate yourself. How many of these do I have? Do I have 70% of them? I have a chance. If I don't have any of them, maybe I should stick with the CAD and the design. Duties and responsibilities. If you are to be an estimator, what's going to be your duties and responsibilities? Do you know how to talk to the people? Are you a people person? Do you know how to purchase? If you're not know how to purchase, you're not going to be a good manager. I mean, managers, guys, have to interface with a lot of people whom they like and whom they don't like. So responsibilities and duties. Set up the estimating workspace and the tools. We talked about the tools and the workspace that you need. Different types of estimating methods that you need to use. Accuracy of the estimates, labor and material, as well as accuracy as an estimate can be, how accurate, and advantages and disadvantages of the manual and the computer service, and the only one that we see is computer assisting software. That's the one that I want to emphasize, because that's what you're doing with your friend Chad, and that's what most of companies are doing. Most of companies are doing. Any comments, my friends? Any questions? I shall not emphasize enough how important this chapter is, guys. If you want to remember one thing, Adam, remember the 9 steps. that will help you understand the sheet in front of you that you're working with, and you're going to continue working with it today for this week and next week, the Excel sheet. It will help you when I switch you guys into Acubit, and it will help you when I switch you into McCormick. All of them follow, for the most part, these 9 steps. Am I clear about this, guys? You're going to see almost the same type, the same words that they use. The same words. Can I get you guys to understand these 9 steps, please, of estimating and the estimate and the bid process, called the estimate and bid process. Estimate how much it's going to cost you. The bid is how much are you willing to pay. What's the difference between estimate and bid? Profit. What does the profit go to do? The owner of the company go to the Bahamas, or buy another truck, or do something with it. Do you have to have a profit all the time? No. If you don't make profit, might as well just, we're in business to make profit. You pay all your expenses, everything's cool, and you need to have 5 to 10% profit, maybe 5% in this market. So you can either reinvest the profit in the company and build your company. That's one way of using it, or just bucketing it into your saving account for retirement, or whatever you want to do with this money. So remember, the profit is above and beyond every single expense that you have. Nothing. You pay it yourself if you're the owner of the company and a working owner. There are 2 types of owners, guys. There's people who work and own, like Dave Karski, own and work in the company. That's an employee. So he will pay himself as overhead or a project manager. Then above that, as an owner of the company, you get a percentage on the projects. Does that make sense? The profit is above and beyond everything that you pay. If you're a non-working owner, you own and you sit in the Bahamas, you only get what? You can't charge your time to the company. That's unfair. So you get a percentage of that profit. If you're not making profit, the guy sitting in the Bahamas will be upset. He expects his check, right, at the end of the year. Any comments, any questions? So what I expect you guys, all the questions at the end of every chapter, please do them. These chapters are very easy to do. Very, very, very easy. I mean, by reading them, you can answer all of them. I doubt that you can find any problem with them. If your tests and finals will be directly from the questions, so I'm not going to do any review for them. They're going to be directly from these books. If you are in doubt, Adam, when you're solving them, please stop. I have the answer. Say, Chad, I don't know how to find the answer for this. I will help you, and if I couldn't find it, I have an answer for it. Okay? Am I clear about this? My expectation, guys, for today and this week is just we start taking off the material. So continue taking off your materials. You color-coded. I like that one. I will not accept a takeoff that's not colored. I will not accept a takeoff that's not colored, guys. So you're going to color, follow direction. Estimating is about following procedures. I want you, at least in my class, to follow procedures. When you go out of here, you follow procedures. You don't follow procedures. That's up to you. I have no control. The authority having jurisdiction is done. Okay, cool. Comments, questions, ladies, gentlemen? Okay, thank you guys for listening to Chad. I tortured you, didn't I? A little bit? You're going to hear it once. Thanks.